Chetan Bhagat. He is one of the most famous authors of India, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing about his books, what are the movies that are based on his books, what are the books that he has written so far in his career, and what's the journal viewpoint about his books. And also I'll be reviewing a few books that I have read myself, which are a part of this video. So without further ado, let's get started with this video. Hi there, I'm Manpreet. I make book related videos on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button so that you get notified every time I post a new video. I have done a couple of videos in this author spotlight series that I do to feature Indian authors and discuss their works, and I will link the playlist down below so that you can check out all the videos that I have made in this series so far. Starting with what kind of novels Chetan Bhagat writes. So he writes about young, urban, middle class Indian people, and he caters to mostly very young audience that doesn't read that much but that would pick a book every once in a while. And that, personally, I believe that is the reason why he's so successful, because he writes really easy novels that can be read by teenagers, by young people in record amount of time. Even if the Chetan Bhagat book is your first novel that you are going to read in your life, you can just flip through it. Chetan Bhagat also writes columns for newspapers, and he discusses a lot of Indian issues, Indian society issues, political issues. A lot of those essays have been compiled into different non-fiction books that have been published by the author, and I'm going to be telling you about the latest book that has just come out also in this video. When it comes to how many books he has sold, an estimate is that he has sold 7 million copies so far, and he is one of the biggest, not one of the, he is the biggest best-selling author of the country so far. As per my current knowledge, he is one of the biggest English novelists in the country. Not one of the biggest, he is the biggest English novelist in the country. Talking about his work before we begin with the books that he has written, his work is much loved and hated. His work is much loved by the teenagers who read his books, especially the ones who do not read a lot of books, but they're just beginning reading. And Chetan Bhagat is really, nobody can deny him the credit of making India read. Because of his books, a lot of people who would not even think about picking up a book or being able to comprehend it nicely can now pick up a book, enjoy it, and move on now into a full-fledged reading life and become a full-fledged reader. So obviously the people he converted into readers and the people who loved his books love him a lot, but he is also much hated and criticized. I particularly have two videos about the whole issue. One video is Why I Love Chetan Bhagat, where I discuss about the majority of elite India hate Chetan Bhagat because before his rise, there were only literary novels which people would read, and nobody with mediocre or beginner level skills of reading would be able to read a book, a novel written by an Indian author. And he was able to get so much of audience, he was able to get so many people read books, he was able to get a fan following that nobody had had before in India as an author. So obviously there are a lot of people who do not like that. I made this video specifically to address the issue of hating him for like unnecessary reasons, or like just hating him out of jealousy or because he doesn't write the books that you want to read, okay? And another video I made was what's wrong with Chetan Bhagat books, which was me discussing what could be the genuine critique that his books get. But obviously I hadn't read the entire works of Chetan Bhagat, okay? I had read a few books of Chetan Bhagat, so a lot of you were like, Manpreet, why don't you read all of those books that we hated and really make an opinion about it and not just say that we hate it and you are making this video because we told you so, okay? So I got a lot of those kind of comments, and I'm working on it, which is why I have started reading the whole Chetan Bhagat books once again, which is why I actually bought some of the copies that I had lost to friends who would not give me back the copies that I lent them. And also I got the new works of the authors that I didn't have before, and in this video you'll be seeing all the books that Chetan Bhagat has written so far, what they are about. I have read a few of them, so I'll also give you a little review of the books that I have read. So let's begin with this section of the video. I hope you are enjoying it so far. If you are enjoying it so far, make sure you hit a thumbs up and tell me in the comments down below if you have watched those two videos as well. Those are like pretty old videos, so they might be weird, but if you want to watch them, they are linked down below in the description. I'm going to begin with the latest release of the author, that is India Positive by Chetan Bhagat. This book is a collection of essays and columns by Chetan Bhagat, and the essays in this book discuss Indian political issues, Indian economic issues, and Indian social issues. And I really loved the author's take on it. I just finished reading it in the morning. I really loved the author's take on all the issues, and I felt like all the essays were very balanced. Though I did have one issue with one essay where he talked about male trolls but did not talk about female trolls. It was not an issue. I just wanted him to discuss that as well, because when it comes to trolling on social media and on the internet, women are not behind men, okay? There are women who troll you, and I have been through the experience of influencers trolling me as well in the same industry I work in. So I really wanted him to address that as well. But I really hope in the next book the author comes up with discussing essays and all, he tries to address the issue of female trolls as well. But otherwise, I really loved this book. I feel like there are a couple of issues that I missed, okay? I just do not follow news. I do not follow like all that depressing stuff out there which is out there on social media. So this was a very good book for me to just know about all the issues from a, you know, sort of neutral perspective, I would say. And I think this book really gives you a nudge to formulate your opinions, take your action, be a responsible Indian youth, and you know, be India positive. So I really love this book for that. I would give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. On Goodreads it's 4, but definitely pick up this book. So I really like this book, and this is the latest release of Chetan Bhagat. All the books that I'll mention in this video are linked down in the description, so you can check them out. If you want to buy them, go ahead and buy them from Amazon, which is my favorite shopping website when it comes to books. So apart from the first book I discussed, I have organized this video in the form of the first book that the author published until the latest book of the author, apart from the latest one that I showed you. So let's begin from 5 Point Someone by Chetan Bhagat. So this is a book that I had already read like ages ago, more than a decade ago. But this book is about these 3 engineering students. The movie Aamir Khan starrer 3 Idiots was based on this book as well. And it's about these 3 engineers and their life in IIT, which is the most prestigious institute for engineering in India. And it's about their lives there and how they talk about this issue of, you know, these educational institutes sucking the creativity out of you and putting you in this rut of just learning stuff and studying about it instead of being creative. So that is what the book is about, quite evidently for young audience that may be going to college in a couple of years or that is already in college. And I feel like you would enjoy this a lot. I have read this a decade ago. This time I'm reading it again. So let's see how that goes. For that, you need to subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified of the reading vlog that I'll make while reading all the Chetan Bhagat books. The next book that Chetan Bhagat wrote was One Night at the Call Center. This book is about these set of friends who, not friends, colleagues I would say, who work in a call center, and somehow they start retrospecting on their lives and what has happened in their lives, and they also get a call from God. And it was also adapted into a disastrous movie called Hello. Salman Khan was a part of it, and I remember years ago I tried watching that movie and couldn't watch it for like 10 minutes. So yeah, that movie wasn't good, but let's see how the book would be. I haven't read this one, but this is the second book by Chetan Bhagat. Next comes The 3 Mistakes of My Life. This is about these 3 friends who live in Ahmedabad, and this one friend who talks about the 3 mistakes of his life. I have read this book. You know, I would say that as a teenager, you would really enjoy this book. As a college student, you would really enjoy this book. I enjoyed it when I read it then. So yeah, and you can see the copy is new because somebody took that copy from me and never gave it back. Dear friend, I remember you. Yeah, this was the 3rd book, and it has also been adapted into a movie called Kai Po Che, starring Sushant Singh Rajput, I guess. Next book that I read by Chetan Bhagat was Two States. This is the one he wrote after this, 4th book. And this is the first book that I read of Chetan Bhagat, and then I ended up reading a few more books. This is the story of Chetan Bhagat. You know, he says the story of my marriage. It's about 2 people who fall in love while they're studying together, and the difficulties they face while convincing their parents of their marriage, because they belong to 2 different states which are like quite different, north and south of India. So this is the book about that. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was an entertaining novel. You know, every time people say, Manpreet, how can you like Chetan Bhagat books and all that. And I'm always wondering that, I mean, I liked Two States a lot. I loved it. So that's that. Let's see how I find it this time I read it, but I loved it when I read it. So yeah, this is a definite pick. If you haven't read his works ever, start with this one, please. Next book is Revolution 2020. This sort of features a love triangle about this guy who is poor, who's trying to get into an engineering college, like getting a good rank while getting through the coaching, and about this one guy who gets a good rank. These guys were friends, and there was this love triangle, there was this girl, and all of that makes up the story of this book. I have read this book, and back then when I read it, I found it really boring. And this is the only book that I am very scared about reading again, because I found it very, very boring then. But I don't know how I'll feel this time, so let's just see. I'm really hoping that I would like this book this time. But this is what the book is about: a love triangle featuring these two people, and featuring, you know, how these coaching institutes in India are trying to dupe students and making them pay so much, guaranteeing them good rankings in entrance exams, and how that has become such a big business. And you know, some of it is legit, but a lot of it is just misguiding the students. That is what I believe this book addresses. But I read it a long time ago, so do not remember much about it, except that I felt it was very boring. Next book by Chetan Bhagat that was published was What Young India Wants. And this is a non-fiction book, a collection of essays, just like the one I have read and I told you about. Okay, so there are different essays discussing different issues about Indian society, Indian youth, and Indian politics. I'm really excited to read this because I remember this roommate of mine who was such a crazy fan of Chetan Bhagat, and we kind of had a fight because I had read Revolution 2020 and I didn't like the book at all. And I was like, no, I am not reading this author again, and the author is not good. This is not the same Manpreet you are watching right now, okay? That Manpreet was very opinionated in the sense she would make her opinions on the basis of nothing, okay? Now I try to be very objective when it comes to my opinions. But then I had a very long argument with this girl who was such a big fan of Chetan Bhagat, and she was like, have you read What Young India Wants? Don't come to argue with me about Chetan Bhagat unless you have read this book and all that. And that is why I'm so excited to read this book, because it's going to remind me of our conversation. But otherwise, if you are into non-fiction books, and I have read one non-fiction book by Chetan Bhagat and I really liked it, so I have really high hopes from it. But yeah, this is the next book that he published, and reminding myself, Manpreet, do not review and do not do your TBR in your author spotlight video. You're not supposed to do that. Next book has also been adapted into a movie, that is Half Girlfriend, and I believe this is one of the books that is the most problematic according to my viewers, according to my Indian booktuber family, because of certain dialogues in this book. But I have not read this book completely. I read half of it, but this time I'll complete this and discuss more about this book. But otherwise, this is the next book of Chetan Bhagat, also been adapted into a movie. And yes, this is about this guy who belongs to Bihar, and this book is set in different places: Bihar, New York. And this is about this guy who has trouble communicating in English because the guy is not that good in English and the girl is very good at English. And it's about the struggles, the linguistic struggles of this guy while he is in love with this girl. And also it's about how Indian youth don't really define their relationship. Personally, I don't think this is an issue unique to India. A lot of people in relationship don't define the relationship, and it talks about how the guy in the relationship might be so confused about where the entire relationship is and how it could be a lot of struggle, you know. So that is what this book is about, and I'm really excited to read it once again after reading about this book, after researching about this book. Okay, I feel like the attempt to talk about the linguistic struggles and the whole your relationship status not being clear within yourself, within the two of you, that really is a subject that Indian youth would appreciate reading about. So let's just see what I think about this book. But yeah, that is the next work of Chetan Bhagat. Next book that he wrote after this was One Indian Girl, and a lot of people criticized his books for this. But you know, this is the thing with Chetan Bhagat, he has never been appreciated much by critics, but he is much loved by the audiences. So I don't know about this book, but this book has been narrated from the perspective of a girl, and you know, touches the theme of feminism. So let's see how this book is as well. Manpreet, stop doing your TBR, please. The next book that he wrote, and I believe this came in the same year when One Indian Girl came, and this is Making India Awesome. This is again a collection of essays and columns written by Chetan Bhagat and reposted and collected into this book. Again, if you're into non-fiction books, want to have some discussions or have a perspective about Indian society, Indian economics, Indian politics, then pick up this book. And in the end, I have The Girl in the Room 105, which is about this girl who dies, okay? Instead of the usual works of Chetan Bhagat, which are contemporary romance sort of things, which with a lot of spice, the Indian spice in it, this is more like a crime thriller. This is about this guy, Hindu guy, who falls in love with this Muslim girl, and their parents don't agree and they break up and all that. And now this girl calls him in a room and he finds her dead there. So who is the killer? Could it be the girl's father, girl's fiance? Or I feel like why could he not be the killer? He could not be the killer, I guess. He's the protagonist of a story, okay? But who knows what happens in the crime thriller. But yeah, this is the last book that is going to be featured in this video, because after this there's India Positive that was recently released. And yeah, these are all the works of Chetan Bhagat. If you have read his books, let me know in the comments down below what you think about them. If you haven't read them, let me know if you're thinking about reading his books. And I really haven't gotten this good response and so many requests for doing author spotlight, because I just started this series. I was just like, I really want this information put together in a video, and then I got so much of love from you guys to all the videos that I've made. A lot of hate as well, because a lot of people think that I'm reviewing the books in these videos. I'm reviewing the books that I've read, but I do not review the books that I haven't read, which I try to make quite clear in this video. But yeah, negative comments are there, but I feel like overall response to these videos have been so positive, and I'm so grateful to you guys for doing that to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you have watched this until now, this is Manpreet signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.